everyone. It's Ryan Fowler with the Inner Game Group, MindChrysalis Live today. Today, we're going to show you basically demonstrations of the methods we use, how powerful they are, how quick they are. We're going to look at trauma, but also just these techniques to just find trauma, locate it like that, get rid of it. And so we're going to look at part of a webinar or seminar given by Dr. David Snyder. He's considered one of the top 3 NLP, neuro-linguistic programmers in the world, trainers and practitioners, but he also does a lot of hypnosis at a pretty high level. And so he's going to do a live demonstration, and then we're going to show just kind of a montage of 10 of my clients and the results they get. In past past shows, we looked at Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. David Spiegel. They're both professors at Stanford University, talking about how you can literally change your mind with these techniques. We're going to show you a live case study today, and you're going to see it in action with client interviews, all of that. But before we dive into that, Tim and Jordan, welcome to the show. Introduce yourselves, starting with Tim.
Hello, I'm Tim with clearthattrauma.com. And one of the things I like about this particular clip is Dr. Snyder helps us redefine trauma from the commonly referred to word trauma being some type of tragic or impactful incident. Now he talks about trauma being the thing left behind from subconscious programming that's maladaptive and is developed during your childhood. And you'll notice in this one, he goes actually back to a childhood with this one lady. But this is what we do. We pinpoint exactly what that trauma is that bothers you, and then we remove it and then reprogram that particular routine to be beneficial to you. Take it away, Jordan.
Jordan Kurtz with Jordan Kurtz Hypnosis. Like these two, I am a hypnotist. I help you find your limiting beliefs, identify them, remove them, and put in subsequently better programs. And I agree with Tim. I think the David Snyder, who we're covering today, what I found was interesting is he talks about the different layers of trance. And so he's doing sort of in the example, there's a woman he helps out, and he actually has her go through a process very similar to what we do, just not quite the end of hypnosis.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's going to be cool. Really, it's cool to see. I think it's also validating and cool to see other professionals approaching these problems in the same way. I think we're all pointing at the same target. Obviously, I think we're the best. Not that I'm biased, but I think it's cool to see nonetheless.
I'm biased. I'm biased doesn't mean it's not awesome, though.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing, guys. You can try out what we do for free. We actually have a free self-hypnosis course, and there are people doing the course, and they're clearing trauma. And they write me letters, or they'll hit me up and they say, hey, you don't even know me. I just wanted to thank you because I used to procrastinate, and now I don't procrastinate because I did your self-hypnosis, your free program. I had another guy hit me up and he's like, hey, you don't know me, but I use your self-hypnosis and I lost 50 pounds and I feel so much better. And it's like, yeah, stuff like that happens all the time. There's another lady hit me up and she said, I used to always have this tension in my jaw and I was on edge, and now I'm not. And again, just using the free stuff. So you can check that out here. Right here for me, school.com, MindChrysalis /MindChrysalis-7138. Go there, and that will take you here. Oops. Well, it will take you here, but community. And people are helping each other out. They are helping each other out, clearing their trauma, answering questions. I respond. If someone writes me a question here, I respond to it. So you can ask me a question on here. I pretty much 100% respond. But look, there's a classroom here. You join, you go to the link You join, we let you in less than a day, usually pretty quickly. Click on Classroom, go here, and there are videos, there's training videos, there's self-hypnosis audios, there's worksheets. You can use these methods and start upgrading your internal world for free. All you got to do is be willing to try. This is the investment. There is investment. There's no better investment than to invest in yourself. And honestly, we should charge for this, but we want to change the world. We do have paid programs, but we didn't water this down. This is basic, but it's powerful. It's very powerful. We gave you some of our most powerful tools are in this free course here. So check that out. Upgrade your life, change your life so you get unstuck. You're feeling better. You're more confident. You're more secure, and procrastination goes down. You just start getting stuff done more and just more productive, happy individual. You can do that too. So we are going to see a demonstration of these techniques. Now, Dr. David Snyder does things a little different from us, but a lot of what he does is very similar as well. And he's going to talk about trauma and like what's going on. And honestly, he does this quick 8-minute session with this girl, and you're going to see the before and after today, the difference in her. And then we're going to show you clients we've done it for, and just a massive, huge, like one session just can be, not always, but can be just absolutely life-changing. Actually, majority of the time, it is absolutely life-changing for people who come to us. So let's go ahead and dive in to this presentation. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we get started, Jordan or Tim?
Yeah, just a tidbit.
Okay.
As you go through life, if there's ever a struggle, generally that struggle is a consistent, constant, never leaving, always present, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of worry, a little bit of procrastination. It's always in the background. And sometimes that gets triggered to a higher level depending upon the events around you that match in your subconscious. What Ryan's talking about and what Jordan's talking about, this immediate removal, is that thing that is bothering you for a very long time is immediately gone. It's like removing a boulder out of your backpack. All of a sudden you're lighter. All of a sudden you're moving better. All of a sudden the things that bothered you before no longer bother you. You still have all the memories you ever had, but that emotional trigger response to those memories are now removed and gone forever.
And you're going to see that today. This is nuclear powered stuff. The truth of the matter is, now none of us are licensed healthcare or mental illness professionals. We're not registered psychologists or LCSW or anything of that. We're hypnotists and we're life coaches, and we don't just use hypnotism, although it's a very core to what we do. But have you guys tried? You have issues you're struggling with, and go to normal psychologists. How has it worked for you? I went over to 100 sessions when I had my manic depression, and yeah, it did help, but it took forever, and it only helped partially. And honestly, my anxiety, my rage, all that stuff, it didn't help at all, or help very little to nothing for that other stuff. And it didn't fix all my depression. And that was 15 years of therapy. It's like 100 sessions on and off over 15 years. I found this, boom, 2 months, all depression gone. And all my rage was gone. Like 2 months, like that. And honestly, like from almost the very beginning, I started to feel dramatically better. The mental health industry, they're antidepressants that work about as well as placebo, maybe just a tiny bit better with all these side effects. They suck. They freaking suck. And now they're replacing it with a psychedelic ketamine, which has many benefits, but which is addictive. It's addictive, and it's used recreationally. And of course, they're going to use some sort of synthetic medication that is addictive, because the mental health industry, too many of those people and these pharmaceutical companies look at people as annuities. We want an income stream from life. We don't want to fix you guys. So they take these more effective methods and they crap on them and push them to the wayside. But The truth is there is a mountain of scientific data behind what we do, and we've showed you 2 Stanford professors talking about it. They know this stuff is nuclear powered, but the universities and the mainstream won't embrace it because once you're fixed, they cannot make you an annuity stream, a lifetime income stream. And to hell with those guys. We're going to show you the real solutions that are massively powerful. So let's dive into it. Here we go. Did you have anything, Jordan? Or we're good?
The proof is in all the clients we help. I mean, even if you
We're
didn't
gonna show
have
you
all
that
these
today, yeah.
clients backing it up, I mean, the most obvious proof for me is myself, you, Tim's wife, all the clients we help. That's
You're
where
a
the proof
hypnotist
is.
because I did a session for you, change your life, right?
Exactly.
And we're gonna see an interview, just an excerpt of you and Carrie's wife and 8 other people. And you go on my website, click on the video section. There's 24 interviews. I have another 3 recorded and like another 4 or 5 people who agreed. You know, most people want to keep it private, but we got tons of data, guys. And you can watch a lot of it and see massive results in these. You can watch it right now. You can go to the video section and watch right now, but wait till after.
Not right now. Just after.
Yeah, not right. You can, but watch this first. Anyways, let's go nuclear powered and listen to Dr. David Snyder showing you how it's done. Here we go.
Of trauma.
We're going to start with his explanation of trauma, but you'll see a demonstration before too long.
Because when we think of trauma, we think about horrible things. We think about car crashes and war zones and sexual molestation and all these horrid things, right? And we should. But we also need to expand our understanding of trauma to anything the nervous system views as life-threatening, even if it's getting your toy taken away when you're a 2-year-old, even if it's mommy and daddy yelling at each other in front of you, even if it's being alone in a room or in a room with people and nobody's playing with you. These things are just as trauma-inducing as war zones. And in more cases than not, the root cause of the people who wind up in my chair. Okay?
By the way, everyone has some of this, which means pretty much everyone who uses our methods, even if their lives are going pretty good, are going to notice, wow, my life is going even better now, because everyone has at least mild trauma, and many people have way more than that.
And here's the best part.
I me to comment there.
Paradoxical and scary and
Ryan.
and cool at the same time. Everybody who suffers from trauma isn't broken. They're not broken. They feel that way. God knows they feel that way. A trauma, when you're manifesting symptoms, is the sign of a system functioning properly. It's just nobody taught you the dynamics of the system, so you didn't know what to do when the system did what it was programmed to do.
Let's stop right there real quick.
Okay.
So, Jordan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, he characterized all those things as life-threatening. I don't know if I might slightly change the language, just something that's threatening or something that makes you, like, if mommy and daddy are fighting, right? It's the kid assumes it must be my fault because I'm not good enough. That's necessarily life-threatening, but he characterized it that way. It's not exactly correct, but it's close.
Well,
It may be a little dramatic, but
yeah.
One of the things that becomes life-threatening is when you drive yourself to the point where there's so much pain, you don't want to live any longer.
Yes.
Matthew Perry, those kind of people that, Marilyn Monroe and Kurt Cobain, those type of things. So he just said something really interesting. Subconscious trauma and the pain you feel from that, all those emotional triggers, is your system working correctly? The pain that you feel, and we read this in the book by Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score. That trauma that you develop in childhood stays in your body until it's removed. So what does that mean? That means the pain, anxiety, trauma, feeling bad, pains in your joints, your heart, whatever, all of those things are your body telling you something needs to change because something is hurting. That's what he's talking about. This is your body and your brain working perfectly in sync. So now what you need to do is pay attention to those migraines and that pain around your heart or joints or tightness of the chest or your throat or whatever. Find out what causes that trauma, which we can help you do, and then clear that trauma out, which we can help you do. There you go.
Yeah, now I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit, Jordan. The mom and dad fighting, how children often interpret that when mom and dad fight is children know they need their parents to survive. They know, hey, I'm 2 years old. I don't know where to get food, shelter, clothing, etc. I need my mom and dad. I'm just this little helpless kid. And when kids see mom and dad fight, on a like instinctive level, they're like, uh-oh, what if mom and dad split up? And now I only have one parent instead of two. That actually, at a very primordial level, instinctively, a child's like, they find it scary for that reason when mom and dad fight. What if they fight and break up and I lose half my resources and now I only have one parent taking care of me? I am now less safe. Now, a child is not cognitively thinking that, but on an instinctive level. So when mom and dad fight, oftentimes a child will get sick or cause a problem or something like that to get mom and dad to stop fighting and focus on the kid. And the kid's like, oh, mom and dad aren't fighting anymore, so they'll stay together. And so you can actually see, dynamics like this happening. There's many, many examples of this. A childhood psychologist knows about all this. They very well versed in this. So it actually is some survival programs going in place. And what trauma does to us, everyone watching this, think to yourself about things you want to do that you don't do, limiting beliefs. Hey, I want to start this side business, but I don't. And that was, Tim, your wife Carrie's for years, 20, 30 side businesses, tried to start it. And at some point before, she actually launches and brings in clients, stops, right?
Yep.
And that was her trauma saying, this is unsafe. This is risky. Better play it safe with the safe corporate job where you're not happy, where people are browbeating. I think your wife had some happiness in her jobs, but there was a lot of stress and anxiety and stuff she didn't like too.
There's always that underlying anxiety.
Yeah.
Low level, never goes away.
Our audience watching this, if you procrastinate certain things, you have a fear of failure, you're awkward in social situations, you're maybe anxious is a better word in social situations, even if you are a good conversationalist and perfectly adequately charming, all of that, but there's people you want to get to know, but you're shy or just whatever. The underlying cause for all of that is trauma. It's like, hey, wait, as a child, you drew this based on things that happened. You were neglected, you're left alone, you're criticized, you're made fun of, bullied by other kids. That got in your subconscious, and it's like, oh, geez, this world's kind of dangerous. Oh, I do have to play it safe. I do have to focus on surviving instead of thriving. And then as an adult, you're playing it safe, you're keeping small, and you're not living your fullest, best life. You get rid of trauma, and then you have self-belief. You replace it with self-belief, self-love, and then you freaking go for it. And even when you fail, you keep going, you learn, you get better and better. And guess what? End results, you have a great life. And Tim, your wife now, her business is so big, she quit her day job. So she's now doing exactly what she wants. And you guys are backlogged with orders. It's getting so big.
It is backlogged and growing ever quickly.
And the turning point for that, don't mean to brag, but it's just true.
Brag away, baby.
I did a session for her and I removed all of her anxiety. And now, well, not all, but all the unhealthy anxiety. You shouldn't remove all. Sometimes anxiety serves you. Hey, don't hike on that dangerous mountain path. Okay. That's anxiety serving you. It keeps you alive in some situations. Or, hey, don't say the F word in public because, people get mad at you, so some anxiety serves us, but the anxiety that doesn't serve us, we got rid of it. She is doing what she wants now. And she's not just surviving, but she's thriving. and now you are incredibly overworked because you have to make all the pens that these custom pens.
That's
you know,
right.
it is what it is. But everyone, go ahead.
So here's why. And Jordan, I agree with some of what you said, and I'll just take it and I'll extrapolate it, because David, he takes the word life-threatening and he doesn't explain for 5 minutes exactly what life-threatening means.
Yeah,
right?
that's
so So the CDC has come up with this test called the ACEs quiz, ACE, and that stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. These are things that normally happen in our society. If you don't believe me, watch Cops, right? Just watch that cop show and you'll see this stuff. But it seems pretty innocent because these things are so common. But listen to, it's only a 10-question quiz, and it's a self-guided quiz, right? So here's some of the questions that cause childhood trauma that later affects your health and your life. Well, number one, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? That's actually pretty common. That actually happens all the time, right? As good parenting and tough love and all that kind of stuff. It's bullcrap. That's not tough love. It's abuse. Did a parent or other adult in the household very often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? Or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? This is common stuff.
Yeah.
Did an adult or person 5 years older than you ever touch, fondle, or have you touch their body in a sexual way? Or attempt to have oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse with you? These are questions on this very easy test to take.
It actually
there's no judgment. This either happened or it didn't happen, and you get a score, and that score will tell you that likely somewhere in your life you're going to have some type of health issues that are caused by this. Why? Because that trauma stays in your body with some maladaptive program running that we call subconscious trauma. So Jordan, you're right.
Is it
isn't initially life-threatening, but it is long-term life-threatening.
Yeah, my point of bringing that was it's all in how the child interprets it. So it's
always, yes.
I imagine if you boil it down, maybe past I'm not good enough, maybe that could be it's life-threatening. So, but I don't disagree with what Ryan and Tim just said.
In reality, it's not life-threatening,
right? For the moment,
part of our brain, may perceive that as a child.
If they're arguing about you, for example, that you did something that was wrong and that caused an argument, you may not think, oh, they're going to break up. You may just think they're a unit together and they don't like me. I'm not good enough for them. So, which again might be they might abandon me, which could be life threatening. So I guess I think maybe we're splitting hairs a little bit, but
we are. He condensed it down. He condensed a 5-minute conversation down to 12 seconds. You're right.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Immediately, except for that abuse where you physically getting hurt, it's not terribly life-threatening. But overall, it can be.
Yeah, and Tim, that list you're reading from, it's either 11 or 17 categories.
There are 10 questions.
10 questions. And if you have 5 or more, then the data shows your life expectancy on average will be 20 years less than normal if you have 5 or more of those.
You just wear yourself out.
You die 20 years younger on average.
Trauma.
That's
you wear yourself out, literally.
Yeah. All right, so back to this. Here we go.
Basic understanding that I acquired this really, a lot of the subtleties of it from again, I'm going to quote him again, Brent Baum, who I think is a tremendous resource. This stuff is a little dense. But for those of you who really are called to do this work, who I lovingly call a special kind of stupid, it's one thing to come to a seminar like to fix your own shit or to get my help to fix your shit. But for those of you who are called to go out and fix other people's shit, that's a special kind of stupid. Right? It's not work you choose. It's work that chooses you. I'll let you know. God backdoored me on this one, dudes. I'm telling you. I kind of feel I'd be seeing patients 5 days a week.
I kind of feel that a little
doing what I do. 20 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. because all I wanted to do was do martial arts, pick up women, and be cool.
Yeah, this guy
God had
was
other
ranked
plans.
like number.
And God always does. But the secret, a lot of people ask me, I need to find out what my mission in life is.
This guy is ranked number 2 pickup artist in the world at one point.
That's my
Really?
mission.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
He's got it
Depends on how
nailed.
you feel that day.
he used to teach guys to get women, and he was apparently very good. But now he's healing people. So
Depends on how you feel that day. The fastest way to find your mission is follow your passion. Follow the things that feed your spirit. You'll discover your mission right before you leave this planet. Or right after you leave this planet. And it's like, oh, I did it. Right?
He just
God
said
gave us the
something
best
really
GPS
good.
we could ever have. It's called our neurology. It's called our system.
what's that, Tim?
He just said something really good. He talked about following your passion, following, where your spirit takes you. When you strip away the subconscious trauma, your true, authentic self is now exposed. And that exposure will bring you the things that you truly, truly want deep down. No matter what it is, it will bring you joy and happiness when your authentic self is now in charge.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tim. We'll keep going.
Of feelings. The universe works in a language of feelings and pictures and holograms. All of this information is, in fact, holographic. Okay. Let me see if I can. I'm going to try to do this in a very. I'm going to diagram it as best I can, and hopefully I can explain the trauma induction process in a way that we can. Now, NLP comes at this hologram from a very different place. When the neurology creates a trauma container, kind of every time I think of a trauma container, I think you ever see Ghostbusters? That little container they had that held a ghost in it. That's what I think about, right? This little container with all this shit floating around inside of it. But think about it this way. This is the line of your memory and awareness, right? And it fluctuates from state to state to state. Now, the interesting thing happens is that, let's say that this is baseline, right? We find moments of trauma. Let me move this up a little bit. B-A-U-M. B-A-U-M. Now, a trauma looks like this. It's a spike, an emotional spike in our system, all right? There's a certain level of neurological arousal. Now, what's happening is this is 0 hour. This is terminal event, T0, right? This would be the moment of maximum emotional trauma and death, okay? An interesting thing happens is our consciousness is pretty consistent. Our ego states are pretty consistent. As the trauma increases, there's a mechanism within our system that monitors. So it gets to what we call T-1. T-1 is that moment just before the critical terminal event. And then the neurology does something amazingly cool. It turns it off. It literally zips that file and all the trauma in it into a container that it stores somewhere in your nervous system. When I had you point to where you feel it, you found the somatic address. When I had you notice the color, you started to bring out attributes of the container. Follow me? Now, within this universe, that moment, that ego state, that consciousness, that event is frozen in time. And it's happening over and over and over again. But it's quarantined within the neurology. It's quarantined within the body. And over time, the way your neurological sorting system begins to do things is it sorts things by similarities. It sorts things by things that have in common. That's why many times when you start to do these processes, you wind up somewhere completely different. Because it's not linear. It's not logical.
Sorry, you had something, Jordan?
Yeah, I guess I was hoping to talk about this model that he's discussing. I find do you think that he's pointing at sort of, because we have our own language for it. We call it a subconscious program, right? Do you think he's like 90% describing what we would call a subconscious program. What
Correct.
do you think about
He's
that?
describing in my opinion, the exact same thing in somewhat different terms.
Yeah, I think his T0, that top of the thing, that is the event that happens, that if it happens over and over again, you now create that trauma. He calls it a container. We
It could
call
be
it a
one time
maladaptive
for the trauma,
program.
too.
But either way, it's the same thing. It's a trauma, and that's stored in your nervous system, right?
Yeah.
That trauma is stored somewhere in your body. So he's using different words, but essentially it's the same thing.
I think
Yeah,
that
and so what we say is things happen as children, and we interpret what they mean, and we adopt painful beliefs. My dad keeps yelling at me. It must mean I'm not good enough. It must mean no matter how hard I try, I keep on screwing up. He keeps on getting angry. I'm not good enough. That belief forms from trauma. And what happens is, as adults, we go through the world. Anytime there's anything in the outside world that is a pattern match for that belief, it spikes emotion tied to the belief. And he has that kind of that mountain there talking about this spike. Well, it gets spiked over and over and over again. Anytime we're in a situation that is a match for what happened to us as a kid, that negative emotion that's in that container gets triggered. That's what getting triggered is. And this is exactly what he's talking about, but he's using a little bit different language. I think ours is easier to understand, but the way we describe it, but it's still the same thing. Yeah. And I mean, it's still a pretty good description he's doing. So we'll keep going.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. That ego state is a fragment of your consciousness, holographic in nature, which means it's got everything that you knew and everything that you had and everything that you understood up to that moment in time. But for all intents and purposes, it's a separate organism. And we know it's not. It's a container. When we, either through the process of hypnotic regression, through some form of neuro-linguistic programming, or like Brent uses a holographic memory resolution process, from the present moment. By the way, once we hit trauma at T-1, that gets frozen in time. Now, one of two things either happens here at T0. You're either dead or you survived. If you survive, the consciousness keeps going from that point forward. This is why you have blank spots in your memory from time to time. Those blank spots indicate containers that have been taken out offline until such a time as you have the resources. You have the resources to deal with it. Or if you don't handle this shit, it's going to overload the system. Does that make sense? Okay.
This is why you just don't keep things bottled up.
That's right.
You got to resolve this stuff at some point, or you're gonna suffer and struggle to some degree.
So how do we do this? Well, I don't want to get too long, so I want I should just do some shit. I never know what I'm getting when I open up this can of worms. So here's what I want to do. Let's do this as a group exercise. We do this as a group exercise. I want you to think of something. No, it's not going to work either because I got to manage each of these. So here's what we're going to do. We point to where we feel it. We notice there's a color connected to that feeling, right? We've gotten that far, right? We're going to take a little bit of Brent's approach now. In that, once we find the color, once we find the somatic address, now what I want you to do is I want you to look at it with your inner eyes. And I want you to trace the periphery of that event or of that feeling. Notice the shape of it. As you notice the shape of it, tell me about the shape or describe that shape. What's it like? Right? Julia, what's yours like?
Jagged.
So
Jagged?
you want me to? So again, what we ask our clients, right? Where do you feel it in your body? And describe the sensation. I don't usually use the words color and shape. I just say, is it burning, tingling?
Right.
I use more general descriptive words. He's leaning more towards, he's like, use your inner eye and find. I don't like using that language because I think it turns some people off. So I like to use more general language of just like, where do you feel it? And what does it feel like? I don't think those are two. I don't think that language turns people off. I think that's very general.
It's a very marketing attempt. Like, I know something you don't, like somatic address.
Yeah.
Nobody talks like that, really, right? So it sounds really mystical and cool, but the somatic address is where in your body do you feel it? That's it. Yeah. That's simple. So we'll take the big words and break them down a little bit, but that's what it means. You're right, Jordan. I don't use somatic address either.
Yeah.
By the way, what is your somatic address?
Yeah. Now,
123 Hart Lane.
I actually want to connect this to a few weeks ago. We examined a talk by Dr. Andrew Huberman, Stanford neuroscientist, over 5 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, extremely popular and world-class neuroscientist, world-class. He's at Stanford. And he talked about neuroplasticity. What do we need to do? What kind of state do we need to put our brain into? And what is the process to actually changing, rewiring our brain? And he went through the neuroscience. And he said, you have to, the part of your brain you want to change, number one, is you increase its alertness. So what induction does, induction is getting people into a hypnotic state or a meditative state. It's same meditative state, hypnotic state. It's actually the same thing. What that does is it tones down the conscious mind. You're still awake. And that what that does is it increases the activity and the alertness of the subconscious mind, the part you want to change. What he's doing when he's saying, what's the color of it? Where is it? He's activating your imagination, which is tied much more to subconscious. When we dream, our imagination is on overdrive when we're dreaming, all subconscious. So it's increasing the alertness, but he's also saying you're finding the somatic address. You are then focusing your attention on the part of your brain you wish to change. This maladaptive subconscious program, this trauma. Those are two of the precursors or two of the necessary elements, according to Dr. Huberman, to actually then rewire your brain. And he says, hey, once you meet all these elements and do it, this part of your brain has to change. And it does get rewired, and it's like that, and it's permanent. And Dr. Huberman, this neuroscience, went through all of it. But what we're showing you today is the practical application of the neuroscience to actually change your brain for the better. This is the application of the theory he was talking. So those of our audience who want to get into the nitty-gritty science of what is actually going on here, go back. It's like 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the Dr. Huberman on neuroplasticity, changing your brain. Go back to our live show then and watch that. And that is a theory, the science. This is the application of that science. That's exactly what it is. But we'll keep going.
100%.
And that's what we do. Your average CBT guy, you go in, you sit on the couch, you talk to them. They don't use any of these required elements of actually rewiring your brain. They use 0 of them. We use all of them. And that is the critical reason why we get big, massive, permanent, very quick results, one session typically, and they don't. You're talking with them forever. You know, we had Cheryl Burke. We were looking at her clip. She mentioned she'd been going to 2 therapists every week for 10 years and was still messed up. It's like, what the hell? Come on. I mean, these guys, it's just like, so we're showing you the stuff that actually works and that uses the latest science. This is the application.
For a second, bring your chair.
Watch, here's a case study right here. It's gonna take 8 minutes. Well, 6 minutes, you'll see before and after. See the whole process here.
Yes.
When you said noticing, is that still like where you're pointing
Yep.
to?
We start with where we pointed. I'm giving you my approach to this. This is not specifically Brent's because this is a little bit more convoluted.
It's still within that.
Yeah. Well, watch closely. As Julia, close your eyes. Point to where you feel it. Note what's the color.
Green.
Excellent. And you said, what's the shape of it again?
It's kind of square, rectangle, and
Square,
jagged.
rectangle, and jagged. So it's square, rectangle, jagged. Tell me about that shape. What's it like?
Like this, except the edges are
Okay.
like a ripped
Very
paper.
cool. So let me ask you a question. Is it in your body, outside of your body, partially in and partially out?
Outside.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to look deep into that green energy, into that green jagged square thing. I want you to follow it to its very center, to the very source of it. And when you get there, just nod your head to let me know. I want you to follow it even further. Now back to this, the root cause, the very first scene, situation, or event. That is the source of that jagged green energy. And when you get there, nod your head to let me know. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Are you inside or outside, first impression?
Inside.
Are you alone or with people?
The people.
Is it daytime or nighttime?
Nighttime.
Look around. Look at your hands in that picture. Are they big girl hands or little girl hands?
Little.
That's right. About how old are you when you're looking at your hands?
10.
10, that's right. So as you look around, what's going on? Tell me what's happening.
There's just people around talking.
There's people around talking, that's right. And as people are just around talking, what happens next?
I do something that makes them look at me.
You do something that makes them look at you, and then what happens?
It was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Okay, and if it was bad, what happens next?
I feel bad.
You feel bad. And when you feel bad, what happens then?
Nothing really.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If you could go back in time and give that little girl the best advice that would make every
The one thing I would do here he didn't do is say, you feel bad. What does that bad feeling mean? I would have had her identify the belief tied to that feeling, but we'll keep going.
thing like
And
that,
then,
what would you
well,
tell her?
just so
He still helps
for
her.
context. Well,
What's
for
that?
context, this is what we call he's doing a pretty rapid version of regression to cause. So
Yeah.
he's asking those questions. Go feel that in your body. He didn't really ramp it up like we typically do, but he's just like, go to the source. Are you inside or outside? Daytime. That's like regression to cause 101 type
Yeah,
stuff.
we do extra stuff to supercharge this and make it much more potent.
Yeah.
He's just demonstrating the concepts, and I mean, he does help her though. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Okay,
It's okay.
that's okay. Cool. I want you to step into that scene as the you of today,
Okay.
complete with all your knowledge, all of your life experience, all your wisdom. I want you to give her a big ass hug. Let her know that no matter where she goes, no matter what she does, you're
This is inner child work now.
Yep.
always
Yep.
going to be there. You're always going to be with her. That you love her. You're going to take care of her. And let her know, especially, that you're from the year 2016 and life gets pretty cool. Right?
Okay.
And tell her everything she's going to need to know, everything she's going to need to understand to be okay. To feel great inside. When you know she's got that, just nod your head to let me know.
And usually I have them say this out loud instead of in their head, but
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, as you look at her, is she happy?
Yes.
Now, I got a quick question for you.
I do that too, and the reason we do that is different people respond differently to different techniques. So we incorporate kind of what I do is shotgun approach, have them say stuff out loud, have them do different techniques, because some techniques work better for one person, some better for the other. You don't know which is which. So we engage multiple techniques and, to kind of attack this from all angles.
So to explain a little bit what's going on, we call it the inner child work. There is a point in your subconscious where you were a happy-go-lucky little kid. And in that psychological development in the subconscious, pretty much generally before the age of 8, you're happy to a point, and then something happens and you no longer are happy past that point. Your inner child, your happy inner child, literally becomes stuck right there. And what we
the
do,
container he talks about.
yeah, what we do is we go back and we meet that inner child in the subconscious back when they were happy. And then we have the big adult meet the inner child and bring them forward and let them know how secure and wonderful and happy and great and exciting they are. And that's what helps remove the trauma, is that it's gone. And now we're going to go back to this inner child that was very happy and give them the support they've been looking for a very long time. And that's what he's doing now. He's telling this inner child how wonderful you are, how great you are, how valuable you are, so on and so forth. And that literally works because that inner child was left behind as all that subconscious trauma developed.
All right, we'll keep going. Thank you, Tim.
and then I also like that he didn't, but notice that he didn't tell her go back to your childhood. He allowed the container, his words, and the feelings to lead her to that spot. He asked, "How old are your hands?" That's another way. Basically, he's like, "Look at your hands. How old are?" It's like that's a little more, like you said, the marketing piece, I think. But I just say, "How old are you?" Like, I don't think you need to. But I don't think that's terrible. But it's
so there is the subconscious has no concept of time. It only knows events and emotions that are triggered from it, etc. So when we tell people, go back to the first time you first felt this way, it's not a time period. It's just a feeling, right? This was the first time I felt this. Before this, I was happy. But now this is the time I felt this first. Great. Let's deal with it right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep going. Here we go.
Little camper on the face of the planet right now.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, if you could imagine, what would she like to have? What would you like to experience?
The
Go ahead.
I guess the approval of the people.
I want you to make a movie in your mind. It has the highest approval rating ever. I want you to make it full color, high def, make it the best approval movie ever. She's a rock star. I want you to play that movie over and over again. And when it's perfect in every way, I want you to take her by the hand. I want her to step into that movie and live it. Over and over. That's right. You can do it. That's right. Feel it over and over and over again. And now I want you to notice as you feel those good feelings, there's a place in your body where that feeling starts. Point to where you feel it. That's right. I want you to notice there's a color connected to that good feeling. What's that color?
Fuchsia.
Fuchsia. Perfect. Now, I want you to imagine that movie is now playing out in front of you, bigger than an IMAX movie theater screen. I mean, it's huge, right? And I want you to make it, now you look at the movie. Is it really, really clear or is it kind of fuzzy?
It's kind of fuzzy.
I want you to play with all the different controls until that movie becomes crystal clear in every way. When you know you got it, nod your head and let me know.
Okay.
Excellent. Is it crystal clear?
Yes.
High def?
Yes.
All right. Now what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that fuchsia energy projecting out and forming a big frame around that movie. And I want you to take a snapshot of it. And as you do, I want you to reach out with both of your hands and grab the edges of that frame and the picture inside of it. Physically reach out and lift it up over your head. I want you to pull it down through your entire being over and over and over again. And notice what happens to that green jagged shape in your tummy.
I don't see it.
Oh, just keep going until it's completely gone. It's impossible to feel it ever again. And let whatever feelings come up as a result, let it just come up. That's okay. This is the time. This is the place. Take a tour of your body. Notice how different you feel. What do you notice?
Well, I was noticing that green. It was like in my chest.
Oh, it moved. Huh?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah.
Notice there's a
And it's
color.
not there anymore.
That's not there anymore?
No, because that's when we were talking about it down here. I was like, oh, that's funny. I feel like somebody's stepping on my chest.
And now it's gone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So grab your picture again.
That's literally removing trauma.
Boom. Yep.
She was, did something as a kid. She probably didn't know what. Others disapproved. Now, what's probably happening as an adult is she goes into certain situations and has some level of social anxiety. That's what would be a match. Oh, now I have social anxiety because as a kid, I said the wrong thing. I didn't know what, and all of a sudden everyone disapproved of me. Maybe that'll happen again. Maybe I need to be careful in social situations, and your brain reacts by giving you anxiety in social situations. Well, you go back, you clear that trauma. And she said, I wanted everyone to approve me. And he's like, okay, play this movie where you get all this approval and love and then put it into you. And it's getting rid of the old trauma and replacing it with a new belief that, hey, I am approved of. I am loved. And how that's going to manifest now is she's going to go into social situations, probably feel a little less anxious. But
and the key is,
this is how trauma is removed.
Yeah, the key is she now has self-approval and self-validation.
Yeah.
She doesn't need it from anyone else.
Yep, she's giving herself approval. So here's a great secret of the universe. We can give ourselves, if you know how to do it, it's self-talk, but it's even more important techniques like this. Do the self-hypnosis we got for free. That'll do it. We can give ourselves all the love, validation, approval we need, and then we don't need it from anyone else. That gets rid of people pleasing. It gets rid of validation seeking. It gets rid of codependency. It gets rid of nice guy syndrome. And it helps you get to a point where you are authentically confident.
Yep.
And when you get there, all of a sudden people like you more. And if you say something they don't approve of, but you're like, hey, I'm just being me, they actually like you more. Unless they're like these progressive woke people that are in cancel culture, but those are super traumatized, toxic people. You don't want to be around them anyways. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
And I'll say, and this is where skeptics might go, oh, she's just doing this like that. What? You're not doing anything. It's like, but this is how the mind works. It uses this symbolic imagery. I mean, there's different variations.
Yeah, how are our dreams?
We like to use the tornado. That's our standard. We imagine sending the feeling and the trauma into the tornado to be taken away. I've seen it on other books I've read. They imagine a hot air balloon and you put the trauma in, like these bricks of trauma, into the hot air balloon and watch it fly away. Like this is how the mind works. It understands
how our subconscious mind works.
Exactly. And so it's one of those things that it might look strange if you've never had it experienced, but yourself. But like the moment you experience it, you understand it. Like I can picture myself in her shoes right now doing this and going, yeah, I think that would work.
So
Yeah.
the key to what Jordan's saying is the subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and imaginary. So you can use any analogy that you want: hot air balloons, tornadoes, a big giant movie frame coming down over your head, whatever. The subconscious doesn't mind. It doesn't care. It'll just use it to its benefit.
You first have to get your subconscious mind in a state of neuroplasticity. Like Dr. Huberman said, go back to our analysis of his breakdown of that. And then you use these techniques to literally change these subconscious programs. And it seems woohoo, but guess what? Our dreams are woohoo. Our dreams, which is our subconscious at work, dreams is basically, hey, what we observe during the day, now our subconscious mind is processing it, consolidating it, and putting it into the subconscious in all these little boxes, categories as he was putting it, but not necessarily trauma. And so our subconscious mind is all about analogy, pattern matching, allegory, symbolic imagery. That's just how it works. And that's what he is using here. Kind of this dream state thing. Looks like we lost Jordan, but that's okay. We'll keep going. So, and she said that sad feeling, or, the jagged green rectangle, but also most notably, that sad feeling is gone. It's not there anymore.
Yep.
So this is, honestly, the benefit she gets from this is probably going to be a subtle, minor, permanent benefit, because he only did like one memory, just kind of, he didn't go really deep on her, but there's going to be some small permanent benefit. In a moment after this, we're going to show you and talk about our techniques and how we do this, but kind of like 100x intensity. And you're actually going to see when you 100x the intensity of these methods, what happens in 1, 2, 3 sessions. But we'll finish this out, and then I'm going to show you that excerpt of it's a compilation of 10 clients who were interviewed. But we'll finish this out first.
Do about 10 or 20 more passes and notice what happens. And double the size of the picture as you do it. And then double it again. Keep doubling the size of the image as you draw it through your body. That's all right. That's what I'm talking about right there, baby. Till it's impossible to feel any other way. Notice what happens. Take it to everybody. Notice how you do it. What do you notice? You're sweating.
Yeah.
Try to bring those old feelings back. Notice what happens instead.
Nothing. It stays shut.
Open your eyes. Notice how good you feel. Give a big round of applause. Welcome. Whether the trauma is, something from a war zone or something that happened on the playground, something that happened in the living room, the mechanics are the same. You don't need, with this process, you don't need to re-dredge up the trauma and things like that. Those techniques are there if you need to use them. But it's important to remember that every memory that we have is a hologram. And it's
He actually did re-dredge the trauma up because she felt the sad feeling. So I don't get what he's talking about there. He got her connect. You have to do it. You got to connect to the feeling.
The thing I think about
that's an integral part of
Ryan, is that sometimes some people are afraid to do what we do. Is they may be embarrassed or maybe too hard to go to the actual specifics of the trauma. And we don't have to know the specifics. We only need to know how they feel about those specifics. I even had a session with a person who said that this thing that she experienced made her feel terrible. And I won't even use the words. And she didn't want to tell me about it. I said, but tell me how you felt about it. And we hit that feeling and dealt with that emotion. The words she used to describe what happened, and she never got the details, were horrific. But I thought, okay, let's just go with the emotion. So I don't need to know, or Ryan doesn't need to know, or Jordan doesn't need to know every single minute detail about that particular traumatic event. We only need to know how you feel about that traumatic event. And that's key, because sometimes people don't want to remember all that stuff.
And usually we ask for those details to help them explore their feelings, but that's really the only reason we
really
go down that route.
They generally start offering them up once they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have them.
Correct.
Yeah, and I want to point out a couple very important things here. The original memory that was the inception of the trauma is not the trauma. I have people who can't remember their childhood. I still help them.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, doing that regression to cause where you go back to the early childhood memory is actually entirely optional. You can clear trauma without doing that.
Yep.
The trauma is, this is how all subconscious programs work, but trauma is a maladaptive, a painful, emotionally painful subconscious program. What it is it's a belief tied to a feeling. And when you have a maladaptive belief that doesn't serve you, that holds you back, that keeps you anxious, keeps you procrastinating, keeps you depressed, etc., especially it can happen just on its own because it's tied to your core identity, just beliefs about yourself, or it can get triggered at specific times. You know, anytime I go, you know, to a party, I always feel really anxious. So you're getting triggered in that each time you go to a party, you feel that. That's a subconscious program being contextually triggered. But the subconscious trauma, the maladaptive program, is a belief that doesn't serve you, tied to a painful emotion. The inception of that was the memory. Or you had this experience in life, and when this thing happened to you as a kid, you formed a belief about what things meant, and it had a bad feeling tied to that belief. So if you just connect to the negative emotion and connect to the belief that is tied to it, you can clear that without even going back to a memory. And you don't need to go back. Let's say as a child, you were criticized on 1,500 different occasions. You don't have to go back to every one of those 1,500 memories to clear the trauma. You just rewire. That memory is an aid to help spike the emotion and the belief and kind of, you know, bring it like more clarity, but it's absolutely not necessary. It's just helpful. So we can work directly on the negative belief, the negative feeling, connect to that negative feeling and the belief, and then just clear that without even going to the memory. Memory is just an aid. And then you clear that belief and feeling that arose from the 1,500 times or 5,000 times you're criticized by your parents as a kid. You can just get rid of all that pain tied, all those memories, one fell swoop. You don't need to go back to 5,000 memories. You just do it once. Now, there are many different subconscious programs in us. So I usually clear 3, 4, 5, sometimes only 2, but I almost always clear multiple bad subconscious programs per session. And we do things in a way. He did a very quick method, which definitely helped this lady. But there are techniques to supercharge this and make it much more intense, much more powerful. So we have about a 6-minute clip. We're going to play you guys showing. You're going to see Tim and Tim's wife, can see Jordan, but you're going to see 8 other people showing you when you take these techniques and really concentrate them for maximum effectiveness. Everyone you're watching had 1, 2, or 3 sessions. That's it. And most of them, it was 1 or 2. And that's it. So we're going to play this clip. And when you really supercharge these techniques and get them really concentrated, life-changing. We'll show you. But you guys, Tim or Jordan, have anything to say before we?
Nope. Let's roll.
Okay. Now with this clip, compare the intensity of what that lady went through to the intensity of what you're going to see in these interviews, and how they're talking, because this is. I think it's nuts. I think it's crazy intensity, some of this stuff, what these people are saying, but I'll let you guys be the judge. So let's see here. Oh, I'm getting there. All right, here we go.
Classic self-hatred. So just, you know, just like, why can't I do anything right? Like, and so I was like, well, everyone's telling me I can do the thing. Why can't I do the thing? When we actually were releasing it, I was telling Ryan, like, felt like I had this lump in my forehead that he was just like ripping out of there. And so everybody who I was close to was telling me, hey Gary, like, I don't know what you did, but your face has changed, you know?
Yeah, I remember you telling me, they're like, your face is different.
Your face is different. And I'm like, what does that mean? And so
that was one session. And everyone's like, what the hell happened to you? You're different. What?
But I heard it not just from one person. And like, I have, you know, my two brothers, my mother, my father all told me this. And so that was like a big, you know, cathartic kind of moment for me. Yeah, I like talking about this stuff because it's helped me so much. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm talking to my old self when I say this, right? It's like, you will not believe how different you will feel.
And I literally be on.
By the way, that guy was stuck and small and shy. He is now happy, confident, and he's very successful now, and he is kicking massive ass. He's on fire, man. Gary Holmes is on fire now. Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
And he is a hypnotist.
Yep.
And he got certified in hypnosis. I wish I had a before video of this guy because he was a completely different person. He was just so unsure of himself, self-doubt, insecurity, and a lot of internal confusion. He's just on fire now, and great human being.
On the ceiling, and Tim would have to peel me off because I was just like having anxiety. He goes, "What are you worried about?" Blah, blah, blah. So it was horrible. It was detrimental. I was very successful. I had management leadership roles in a lot of companies for, gosh, the last 30-something years, even since I was 18 years old, and I just wasn't confident enough.
I mean, we go all out. We go to the core. We go deep. We don't do surface level crap, man. That's not.
No. He goes, "No, we are getting this sucker out."
I know it was worth it. I knew you'd thank me in the long run.
Yes, I do. It's incredible, and I'll explain the story. And finally, I said what I had been feeling all that time, and for 40-something years,
I knew you were here that. That's why I kept pushing.
And now it's just like but I can go and sit and do something and come back and fix it myself, and I'm not for hours.
It doesn't screw up. You got the power now. You got power.
One session with Ryan, I'm a totally different person.
One session. Oftentimes, that's all it takes to get these massive changes.
It means that deep down, I felt that I was not good enough. I felt that I was not worthy. I felt that I had this deep imprint of I don't deserve it, and I deserve the misery that I end up. Like, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And when I let that go, it changed everything, even the taste of food. And when we did this session, I mean, it was so freeing because finally I was back to who I was as a kid. I became playful again. I didn't have to carry the luggage. And after the session, when you redo this, when you reread it, I felt sadness and compassion for who's that poor fuck? Who's that sorry, sad
I remember you're like, whoever that is, I feel sorry for him. It's like, yeah, that was your old belief system, Lauren.
Yes, and it was gone. What you've done in one session, it took me more than 50 years to try and erase it. So you've done it in one session. You've liberated. Like, I was slamming the accelerator. I was throwing the accelerator, slamming the brakes at the same time. Bottom line is I was stuck. And then you came and unstuck me magnificently. You changed.
And how many sessions did we do for you?
I think we did 2.
And then after the session, I was so relaxed. I felt like this after my Vipassana meditation retreats. You know, when I meditated for 10 days straight, like 7 hours a day, I felt like this after these retreats. But I felt like this without meditation. I was like, something deep changed. I was walking through the streets of Berlin. I lived in Germany back then. I didn't have that much money, but I was just happy. I was like, I had no anxiety. I was like, let's do it. If it fails, I will find the way. I did it 3 months later. Now I'm no 6 months later. Now I'm independent. I'm living with my girlfriend in Poland. I'm having my own business. I had 2 newspaper articles published about my story because I had the guts to go for it. Just my whole life. You know, as soon as this changed, this changed. It's insane. I think I have no idea what is going to happen to them. You know, it has way more benefits than I thought. So I would just say that we can always get back the money if you think a financial investment is too much, but it's worth like 10 times more for sure.
You know,
That was one session. Now, this guy had 3 sessions, and what he's going to talk about, I had no idea I could get here. This guy could not, Brent, great friend of mine, love this guy, went from could not hold down a job. He is now well into the 6 figures. Took him less than 3 years. We'll keep going.
Ryan Fowler over here is the best in the business. He's absolutely changed my life like I could have never imagined. But if you told me I'd be where I'm at 3 years ago, I'd be like, get the hell out of here. There's no way.
He went from could not hold down a job to well into the 6 figures and a homeowner. Less than 3 years, 3 sessions.
Okay, I'm crushing it in every field imaginable, and I can't thank you enough, Ryan. You've absolutely changed my life, my man.
His dating
He's a
life.
beast, man. He's a beast.
He is. He's a beast. He's a great guy. He also became a certified hypnotist because they know this stuff works. It's like, holy crap, it changed my life. I'm going to learn this.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
Is every one of these what's happening, and you mentioned it when it was the old belief system laid aside, and now the authentic person can come out. And they do whatever they want to do, whatever that is.
They spread their wings and fly, baby.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I love Ryan to death. His work is absolutely priceless.
A couple of days later, I'm talking to...
So this guy talking here only did my free self-hypnosis that you can access. He had less of a self-hypnosis program than the free one you can get right now in school. What he's talking about, I never did a live session for him. Not at this point. This is all self-hypnosis, what he's telling you here.
With
the free program.
To my business partner, the real estate firm, and he tells me, you look different. You don't seem like you're jumpy. You look like very peaceful.
Hey,
he
Jorge.
helped me make some phone calls. And I'm making a couple of phone calls, sales phone calls.
Jorge's in the chat.
And he said, man, that's a big difference. I mean, we keep each other, accountable, giving each other feedback all the time to improve.
That's
but
good.
He said, you sounded like you were telling the dude, I'm giving you a chance for something good. You didn't sound like you were begging him, like, oh, please buy this for me. This is going to be really good. I really need this commission. He said, you sounded completely different. Don't wait. I'm seriously, do not wait. If you're thinking, oh, I don't have the money, find the freaking way to get the money. Go mow lawns, go wash cars, whatever. This is going to be the best investment you can do in your life because it's going to be in yourself.
By the way, as a salesman, he did the self-hypnosis and his sales success tripled with the free stuff, doing the free stuff that you can get right now, school.com/MindChrysalis-7138. Do it right now. Change your life just like he did.
I've been stuck. I don't feel stuck anymore. Yeah, I'm not used to feeling like this is a new sensation for me. That was amazing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, man, thank you for helping me.
Yeah, and how many sessions did that take to clear that?
Ryan, and let me guess, him going like this, let me guess, the trauma was all focused in his head.
Yeah, well, he had it elsewhere, but
His head's exploding is what's happening.
Yeah.
And listen, he's going to tell you that was one session. He's going to tell you. So Jorge in the chat right now, confirming everything. The handsome Latino man you just saw, he's in the chat right now. Approach anxiety went down with women, tripled his sales. This is nuclear powered stuff. And you can access some of it right now, improve your life right now for free. You see it, school.com/MindChrysalis-7138. Even if you think your life is pretty good, guarantee you there's some trauma in you can clear. And when you clear it and replace it with the best beliefs, your life gets even better. So invest in yourself. All it's going to cost is time, because there's a free program right now. And if you really want to go hardcore, if you're really struggling and you want a one-on-one session, yes, it's much more powerful than the do-it-yourself self-hypnosis. We're happy to do that for you, but try the free stuff. You'll notice if you try it, do not half-ass it. Watch the videos, fill out the worksheets, follow the instructions. Don't half-ass it. I had one guy tell me, "Oh, I'm listening to the audios. They're not helping." And I'm like, "Okay, can I see your Dive with 5 worksheet?" "Oh, I didn't do it."
Well,
that's why it's not helping. Yeah, you do it your way and you'll get the same results you've gotten always. Do it the way we instruct. This is an active process, but it's all there. All the instructions are there. All the resources are there. Do it for free. Change your life, just like Jorge did. There you go. Jorge Diaz, go all in, all in. We're begging you guys. Try this. Change your life. Be the change you want to see in the world. If you want to change the world, you start with yourself. And that's what we have done. And now we're bringing it forth to the world. We change ourselves. Now we're on a mission to change each and every one of you, change the world, up-level the world.
I'm going to say 1, right?
Did that take?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, man, thank you for helping me.
Yeah, and how many sessions did that take to clear that?
I'm going to say 1, right?
Yeah, 1 session.
You're trapped in your own cage.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest change before and after our sessions. I didn't feel like that. I was able to recognize those 4 mental models in my head and basically completely changed my life. As I studied it more, I noticed that it just seemed like something that everyone really needs. I don't think there's anything more powerful. It just, in terms of just pure effectiveness and it's so fast and so permanent.
Scale of 1 to 10, how helpful do you feel this was?
God, that lighting makes me look like a zombie.
A little bit. But you're a good-looking zombie, so.
That's right.
Sure.
Again, that was 1 session for you, Jordan. This guy, Ari here, this is after 1 session. Listen to what he says.
Just somewhere off the charts, like 2000.
Permanent.
Scale of 1 to 10, how helpful do you feel this was?
It just somewhere off the charts, like 2000. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you.
All right. We'll stop there.
Carrie commented in the things too.
Yeah. Yep, she's living her dream. So those in the audience, if you're doing great, if you're doing awesome, then we're happy for you. But if you see room for your improvement in your life, just start with the free program. Don't half-ass it. Do it as instructed, and spread your wings. Set yourself free. Do you guys have anything to add before we
just one quick? There's no shortcut to perfection. If you want to get your authentic self out, you have to follow the program. You can't short circuit. You can't try to cut something off or not do something. You've got to do the steps to identify the trauma and then clear the trauma.
And it's so worth it.
Yep.
So worth it.
The only other thought I had was, I remember Gil Boyne was always very against, like, he would do those types of seminars where he'd bring someone up on stage. I think we covered one of them.
Yeah,
with
he's
Stutterer.
done
He was always a little opposed to people clapping at the end. He's like, this is not supposed to be a performance. This is supposed to be, you're helping somebody. I mean, I know people feel compelled. He's like, wow, that's amazing. But this isn't magic. This isn't a magic trick. This isn't supposed to be a performance. This is just a really effective tool to help people. And part of the show is to normalize this is how quickly people can fix themselves. This like, oh, that's so amazing. He did it in just 30 seconds. It's like, well, let's normalize that. This shouldn't be performative. This should be the standard. Let's make hypnosis the standard way to approach these people's issues.
Yep.
Yeah, and hypnosis is kind of like saying we paint in oils. It's what you do once you get people into that state. These special techniques we use. Don't just take our word for it. if you want to hear a Stanford neuroscientist talking about how amazingly powerful this stuff is, just put in Andrew Huberman. He's the guy with over 5 million subscribers. He's huge on YouTube. Put in Andrew Huberman hypnosis and just watch what comes up. The data is there. The neuroscientists and the top psychologist, top psychiatrist, Dr. David Spiegel, he's another professor. He's the chair of he's an MD, a psychiatrist, and he's the chair or associate chair of 3 different chairs at Stanford, very high up in Stanford, and he's huge on hypnosis. Listen to what they say. Listen to what these world-class leading scientists say about this stuff. The problem is it has not hit the mainstream with the application, but in 10 years it will, because they have actively tried to suppress this stuff because they want to put in there, hey, we want you to be on an income stream to us for the rest of your life. We don't want to give you the best stuff. We want to give you this that fixes you. They want to give you, the powers that be, give you the stuff where you're paying the money every month for the rest of your life, managing symptoms.
I'll close on this, Ryan.
The gig is up. The gig is up because the research has come out that their methods are crap. The research, we've covered that. That stuff is slowly going away, and the new stuff that actually works is going to become more and more and more accepted, more and more and more prominent, because the data is out there. The hard science is out there supporting this. 10 years, it will be big. It will be mainstream. We're one of the voices that want to change the world and bring it to the mainstream. But you don't have to wait until everyone else is singing its praises before you finally say, oh, maybe I should try that. You can do it now for free. Go ahead, Tim.
Parting shot is, if you want to know what's wrong with Western society, it's maladaptive subconscious programming. Period.
Yeah, it's mass trauma.
Period.
And it's gotten worse with the disintegration of the family, all of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So that's our show. Anything final, Jordan?
No, that was I'm all good.
All right. You guys can do it. Invest in yourself. Try this stuff out. See for yourself. And then when you do, you will know what we've learned, that you actually do have much more power than you know. That's our show. Thank you.